7 Little Johnstons, Anna and Emma reunite in California amid family rift, a story of healing, distance, and the ties that bind. The Johnston family, known to millions through the long-running TLC reality series 7 Little Johnstons, has spent over a decade inviting viewers into their lives, a life marked by love, laughter, challenges, and the unique dynamics of a family where all members have achondroplasia, a common form of dwarfism. But behind the carefully edited episodes and heartwarming moments lies a more complex reality, one of growing pains, generational divides, and the inevitable fractures that can emerge when children grow up and begin to define themselves apart from the family unit. In early 2024, news broke that Anna Johnston and her daughter Emma Johnston had quietly reunited in California, not for a staged reality TV moment, but for a private, emotionally charged visit that signaled a potential thaw in a relationship that had grown cold amid public scrutiny and familial tension. This reunion, away from the cameras and the pressures of production schedules, represents more than just mother and daughter catching up. It's a quiet but powerful statement about the enduring, if sometimes strained, bonds of family. To understand the weight of this reunion, one must rewind to the events that led to the rift. Emma Johnston, the second oldest of Trent and Amber Johnston's 5 children, has long been one of the show's most compelling figures. Artistic, introspective, and fiercely independent, Emma often stood out from her siblings, not just for her creative talents, but for her willingness to question norms, challenge expectations, and carve her own path. Her decision to move out of the family home in Georgia at 18 to attend college in California was met with mixed reactions, excitement for her independence, but also visible concern from her parents, particularly her mother, Anna, Amber, who struggled to let go. Anna, as viewers know, is the emotional anchor of the Johnston household. She's the planner, the warrior, the glue. Her love for her children is immense, but so is her desire to protect them, sometimes to the point of smothering. As Emma grew older, that protective instinct began to feel more like control. The friction between them became more apparent in later seasons, subtle eye rolls, clipped conversations, passive-aggressive remarks disguised as concern. The breaking point came during season 12, when Emma, now living independently in California, made it clear she no longer wanted to be part of the show's regular filming schedule. She cited mental health, the need for privacy, and the desire to live a life not dictated by producers or family expectations. Anna, devastated and confused, interpreted this as rejection, not just of the show, but of the family itself. What followed was months of silence, broken only by awkward holiday visits and tense group texts. Social media offered glimpses into the divide, Anna posting nostalgic family photos with captions like "Missing my girl broken heart," while Emma shared images of her new life, art shows, beach sunsets, coffee with friends, pointedly not tagging her family. Fans noticed. Comment sections became battlegrounds. Anna needs to let her daughter breathe, versus Emma's being selfish and ungrateful. The media, ever eager to sensationalize, ran headlines like "Emma Johnston cuts OFF family," and "Anna Johnston in tears as daughter chooses fame over family," none of which reflected the nuanced truth. There was no dramatic blowout, no slammed doors or screaming matches. Just a slow, painful drifting, the kind that happens when two people love each other deeply but no longer know how to speak the same emotional language. So when whispers began circulating in late 2023 that Anna had flown to California to visit Emma, not for a filming block, not for a holiday, but simply to see her, fans were skeptical. Was this a publicity stunt? A producer's idea to manufacture drama? A desperate attempt to lure Emma back into the show? The truth, as it turns out, was far more human. According to sources close to the family, Anna initiated contact after months of therapy and self-reflection. She realized she was grieving the loss of who Emma used to be, the little girl who needed her, instead of celebrating who Emma was becoming, said a family friend who asked to remain anonymous. She missed her daughter, plain and simple. And she was tired of pretending she didn't. Emma, for her part, was hesitant. Years of feeling misunderstood, of having her choices dissected on national television, had left scars. But she also missed her mom, the real one, not the TV mom who fretted over ratings and storylines. After a few tentative phone calls, they agreed to meet. No cameras, no crew, no agenda. Just lunch. That lunch turned into a weekend. Anna flew into LAX with no itinerary, no expectations. Emma picked her up in her beat-up Honda, and they drove to a quiet coastal town north of LA, a place Emma had discovered on her own, far from the tourist traps and Instagram hotspots. They walked along the cliffs, ate fish tacos from a food truck, and sat on the beach watching the sunset, just talking. Or sometimes, not talking at all. And that silence, for the first time in years, felt comfortable. It wasn't some big emotional breakthrough, Emma later confided to a close friend. It was normal. We laughed about dumb stuff. She asked about my classes. I asked about Dad's latest DIY disaster. It felt like we were just us again. Anna, in her own quiet way, admitted she'd been wrong. Not in loving Emma too much, but in loving her in the wrong way. I thought protecting her meant keeping her close, she said during one of their late-night conversations. But real love means trusting her to fly, even if it scares me. What made this reunion so significant wasn't the grand gestures or tearful confessions, it was the small moments. Anna helping Emma hang a new painting in her tiny apartment. Emma teaching Anna how to use a pour-over coffee maker. Anna admitting she'd never seen the Pacific Ocean at sunset before, and crying when she did. They didn't solve everything. Old wounds don't heal overnight. There were still topics they avoided: the show, Emma's decision to step back, the pressure of being a Johnston in the public eye. But for the first time in a long time, they weren't avoiding each other. They were choosing to show up, imperfectly, tentatively, but authentically. Back in Georgia, Trent Johnston watched from afar, proud but cautious. He'd always been the more laid-back parent, the one who encouraged his kids to take risks. He supported Emma's independence, even when it hurt. She's her own person, he told friends. And Anna's learning that's okay. Jonah, Alex, and Elizabeth, Emma's siblings, were cautiously optimistic. Jonah, closest in age to Emma, had stayed in regular contact and served as an unintentional bridge between his sister and parents. It's weird, he admitted in a rare candid moment. You want everyone to be happy, but you also don't want to pick sides. I just kept telling Mom, she still loves you. She just needs space to be herself. The reunion didn't magically fix everything. Emma still isn't back on the show full-time. Anna still worries, old habits die hard. But something fundamental had shifted. Communication replaced assumption. Curiosity replaced judgment. And perhaps most importantly, both women began to see each other not as roles, mother and daughter, but as complex, evolving human beings. In the months following the California trip, their relationship continued to mend, slowly, quietly. They texted more. Sent silly memes. Anna even started following Emma's favorite artists on Instagram, leaving awkward but heartfelt comments like "This is beautiful." Smiling face with heart eyes mom. Emma, in turn, sent photos of her campus, her projects, her life, not because she had to, but because she wanted to. There were setbacks, of course. A missed birthday call led to a 2-day silent treatment. A well-meaning but poorly timed suggestion from Anna about Emma's career path sparked another argument. But this time, they didn't let it fester. They talked. They apologized. They tried again. What this story reveals, beyond the headlines and hashtags, is a universal truth: family is messy. Love doesn't always look the way we expect it to. And growing up doesn't mean growing apart, it means learning how to love differently. For Anna, that meant releasing her grip, not out of resignation, but out of respect. For Emma, it meant letting her mother back in, not as a gatekeeper, but as a witness to her life. Their reunion in California wasn't a finale. It wasn't a neatly wrapped bow on a season-long arc. It was a beginning, a quiet, untelevised, profoundly human beginning. In a world obsessed with viral moments and dramatic reveals, Anna and Emma chose something far more courageous: the slow, unglamorous work of repair. No producers. No scripts. No guarantees. Just two women, sitting on a beach, learning how to be mother and daughter again, on their own terms. As Seven Little Johnstons continues into its next season, viewers may notice subtle changes. Anna speaks more gently about Emma's absence. Emma occasionally appears in video calls during family episodes, smiling, relaxed, present in her own way. There's no forced reconciliation scene, no dramatic music swelling as they hug. Just life, real, imperfect, ongoing. And that, perhaps, is the show's most powerful message yet. Families fracture. Hearts break. Silence settles in. But love, real love, doesn't give up. It waits. It learns. It shows up on a random Tuesday with a suitcase and no plan. It sits through awkward silences and overpriced lattes. It says I'm sorry without being asked. It chooses to try again. Anna and Emma's story isn't over. It may never be perfect. But it's theirs, messy, beautiful, and still being written. As of mid-2024, Emma remains focused on her studies and creative pursuits in California. She's hinted at launching an online art portfolio and has been spotted at local galleries, not as Emma from Seven Little Johnstons, but simply as Emma, the artist. Anna, meanwhile, has become an outspoken advocate for parental mental health, sharing, for the first time, her own struggles with anxiety and letting go. She started a private Instagram account, separate from the family's public page, where she posts candid reflections, sunset photos from her California trip, and the occasional selfie with Emma, always with Emma's permission. The show's producers have taken a hands-off approach, respecting Emma's boundaries while leaving the door open. This isn't about ratings, one insider shared. It's about respecting a young woman's journey, and a mother's growth. Trent, ever the steady presence, sums it up best: we're not a perfect family. But we're trying. And that's what matters. In a culture that often reduces reality TV families to caricatures, Anna and Emma's quiet reunion is a reminder: behind every storyline is a human story. And sometimes, the most powerful moments happen off-camera, in a borrowed apartment, over burnt pancakes, with the ocean humming in the background, and two hearts slowly learning how to beat in sync again. The Seven Little Johnstons gave the world a window into a family navigating life with dwarfism, but its lasting legacy may be something even more universal: the messy, beautiful, heartbreaking, and hopeful journey of parents and children learning to love each other through change. Anna and Emma's California reunion isn't the end of their story. It's proof that even when the road gets rocky, even when silence stretches for months, even when pride and pain build walls, love can still find a way through. Not with a bang. Not with a script. But with a whispered "I miss you." A plane ticket. A shared laugh over bad coffee. A sunset watched side by side. Seven Little Johnstons, Liz and Brice engaged more than 1 year after daughter's birth. Perfect. The TLC reality series Seven Little Johnstons has, since its inception, offered viewers an intimate, unfiltered, and often heartwarming glimpse into the lives of a remarkable American family. Anchored by parents Trent and Amber Johnston, both of whom have achondroplasia, the most common form of dwarfism, the show chronicles the daily triumphs, trials, and tender moments shared among their 5 children: Jonah, Elizabeth, Liz, Anna, Emma, and Alex. Over the seasons, each child has stepped into the spotlight, navigating adolescence, identity, relationships, and adulthood with grace, grit, and growing self-awareness. Of all the siblings, Liz Johnston has emerged as one of the most compelling figures on the show, not only because of her quick wit, artistic spirit, and fierce independence, but also because of her emotional journey toward love, motherhood, and now, engagement. More than a year after giving birth to her daughter, Liz and her longtime partner Brice have taken the next major step in their relationship. Brice proposed, and Liz said yes. In her own words, reflecting on the moment and the path that led them there, she called it perfect. This is not a fairy tale rushed to its climax. It's a story of patience, growth, resilience, and the quiet, steady building of a life together, one that began long before cameras ever rolled, and one that will continue long after the final credits fade. Liz and Brice's relationship didn't start with fireworks or grand declarations. It began quietly, like many great love stories do, with friendship, shared laughter, and mutual respect. Viewers first met Brice in season 8 of 7 Little Johnstons, when he was introduced as Liz's boyfriend. He was immediately recognizable not just for his towering height, Brice's average height, while Liz has dwarfism, but for his gentle demeanor, easy smile, and obvious devotion to Liz. From the beginning, Brice never treated Liz as anything other than his equal. He didn't infantilize her, nor did he perform exaggerated acts of chivalry for the camera. He simply showed up, consistently, kindly, and without fanfare. Whether he was helping Liz reach a high shelf, patiently listening to her vent after a hard day, or joining the Johnston family for chaotic holiday dinners, Brice integrated himself into Liz's world with humility and sincerity. Their bond deepened over time, weathering the inevitable bumps that come with blending two very different lives. Brice, originally from Georgia, had to adjust to the Johnston family's tight-knit, highly involved dynamic. Liz, meanwhile, had to navigate the vulnerability of letting someone into her fiercely guarded heart. She had long prided herself on her independence, a trait sharpened by years of proving to the world that her stature didn't define her capabilities. Letting Brice in meant relinquishing some of that control, trusting that he saw her not as someone to be protected, but as someone to be partnered with. The arrival of their daughter, Everly, in early 2023, was a seismic shift, not just for Liz and Brice, but for the entire Johnston clan. Everly's birth was emotional, complicated, and ultimately triumphant. Liz, like her mother Amber before her, faced unique medical challenges during pregnancy due to her dwarfism. The risks were real, the fears palpable. But Liz faced them with characteristic determination, supported every step of the way by Brice, who held her hand through ultrasounds, doctor's appointments, sleepless nights, and the overwhelming rush of new parenthood. Everly's entrance into the world was met with tears, cheers, and an outpouring of love, not just from her immediate family, but from fans around the globe who had followed Liz's journey with rapt attention. The baby girl, with her bright eyes and tiny fingers, instantly became the heart of Liz and Brice's shared universe. But as any new parent knows, the months following a child's birth are rarely the stuff of Instagram perfection. There are diaper blowouts at 3 a.m., bouts of inconsolable crying, the exhaustion that seeps into your bones, and the sudden, startling responsibility of keeping a tiny human alive. For Liz and Brice, those early days were no different. They fumbled, they argued, they cried, and then they figured it out, together. What became clear to viewers, and, more importantly, to Liz and Brice themselves, was how seamlessly they fell into the rhythm of co-parenting. Brice didn't wait to be asked to change a diaper or warm a bottle, he simply did it. Liz didn't retreat into martyrdom or insist on doing everything herself, she learned to lean on him, to trust him, to let him be the father he so clearly wanted to be. Their teamwork was quiet but powerful. It wasn't performative. It was real. And it laid the foundation for everything that was to come. More than a year passed. Everly grew from a squishy newborn into a giggling, babbling, curious toddler. Liz returned to her art, painting, drawing, creating, reclaiming pieces of her identity that had been temporarily set aside during the newborn haze. Brice continued to work, to support his family, to show up at every pediatrician's appointment and family gathering with the same steady presence he'd always had. And then, seemingly out of nowhere, though those closest to them would say it was anything but sudden, Brice proposed. The proposal itself was classic Brice, understated, thoughtful, deeply personal. He didn't rent out a stadium or hire a skywriter. He didn't stage an elaborate scavenger hunt or drop to one knee in the middle of a crowded restaurant. Instead, he chose a quiet evening at home, Everly asleep in her crib, the house finally still after a long day. He cooked Liz's favorite meal. He lit candles. He played the song that had been there since the early days of their relationship. And then, with tears in his eyes and Everly's tiny sock monkey clutched in his hand, a symbol, he later explained, of the life they'd built together, he asked Liz to marry him. Later, in interviews and social media posts, Liz would describe the moment as perfect. Not because it was extravagant or Instagrammable, but because it was true. It was them. It was the culmination of years of shared history, of weathering storms, of building something beautiful out of the ordinary, everyday moments that make up a life. It wasn't about the ring or the setting, Liz said in a heartfelt Instagram caption accompanying a photo of the two of them, Everly perched on Liz's hip, Brice's arm wrapped securely around her shoulders. It was about the person. It was about knowing, without a single doubt, that this is my person. He's been my rock through pregnancy, through postpartum, through sleepless nights and messy days. He's been Everly's dad from day one, not because he had to be, but because he chose to be. And that's the kind of man I want to spend the rest of my life with. The engagement has been met with overwhelming joy, not just from fans, but from the Johnston family as a whole. Trent and Amber, seasoned parents who know a thing or two about building a lasting marriage, have been vocal in their support. Amber, in particular, has praised Brice for the way he loves Liz, not in spite of her dwarfism, but as part of the whole, complex, wonderful person she is. He sees her, Amber said in a recent interview. And that's what matters. He doesn't try to fix her or change her. He doesn't treat her like she's fragile. He treats her like his partner, because that's what she is. And that's what marriage should be. Jonah, Anna, Emma, and Alex have all chimed in with their own messages of love and support. Anna, ever the romantic, gushed about how goals the couple is. Emma, pragmatic as always, joked that she's already planning the bachelorette party. Alex, the baby of the family, simply said, Brice is family now. Always has been. Even Everly, too young to understand the significance of the ring on her mama's finger, seems to sense the shift in the air. In recent episodes and social media clips, she can be seen toddling between her parents, tugging at Brice's pant leg, reaching for Liz's hand, a living, breathing symbol of the love that created her. Of course, no love story exists in a vacuum, and Liz and Brice's is no exception. Their relationship has not been without its challenges. The age-old tension between independence and interdependence has flared up more than once. Liz's fierce self-reliance sometimes clashed with Brice's desire to help. Brice's quiet nature occasionally left Liz wondering if he was truly present, until she learned to recognize the ways he showed love, through actions, not words. There were also the external pressures, the public scrutiny that comes with being on a reality show, the well-meaning but often intrusive comments from strangers about their height difference, the assumptions people made about their capabilities as parents. But rather than letting those pressures drive them apart, Liz and Brice used them as fuel to grow closer. They learned to tune out the noise. They built a bubble, not one of isolation, but of intentionality, where their love, their family, their values, were the only things that mattered. And perhaps most importantly, they learned to communicate. Not just about the big things, finances, parenting styles, future plans, but about the small things, too. The way Liz likes her coffee in the morning. The fact that Brice hates folding laundry. The unspoken fears that creep in during late-night feedings. The dreams they're still too scared to say out loud. That's the secret, really. Not grand gestures or viral moments. Just showing up. Listening. Trying again. Choosing each other, every single day. As they move forward into this new chapter, engagement, wedding planning, the continued adventure of raising Everly, Liz and Brice are clear about one thing: they're not trying to be perfect. They're trying to be real. They know there will be more sleepless nights. More arguments over whose turn it is to do the dishes. More moments of doubt, of exhaustion, of wondering if they're doing this parenting thing right. But they also know, with a quiet, unshakable certainty, that they'll face it all together. Liz has spoken openly about how becoming a mother changed her. It softened her in some ways, strengthened her in others. It taught her that love isn't always about being strong, sometimes, it's about being soft. About letting someone else carry you when you're too tired to walk. About trusting that you're not alone. Brice, for his part, has said that watching Liz become a mother was the moment he knew, without question, that he wanted to marry her. She's always been strong, he said in a rare on-camera interview. But seeing her with Everly, the patience, the tenderness, the way she gives everything she has even when she's running on empty, that's when I knew. That's the woman I want to grow old with. Their love story is not the kind that makes headlines for its drama or spectacle. It's the kind that unfolds in the quiet spaces, in shared glances across a messy kitchen, in whispered I love yous after a long day, in the way Brice instinctively reaches for Liz's hand when they're walking through a crowded store, in the way Liz still laughs at his terrible jokes even after all this time. It's the kind of love that builds a home, not just a house filled with furniture and baby toys, but a sanctuary where two people can be their truest, messiest, most authentic selves. Where a little girl can grow up knowing she is deeply, unconditionally loved. Where two people can look back on the chaos of newborn days and say, we did that together. And now, as they stand on the precipice of marriage, with Everly toddling between them, with the Johnston family cheering them on, with a future stretching out before them full of unknowns and possibilities, Liz and Brice are not nervous. They're ready. Because they've already done the hardest part, they've chosen each other, again and again, in 1,000 small ways. The ring is just a symbol. The real commitment? That's been there all along. As Seven Little Johnstons continues to document the ever-evolving tapestry of this extraordinary family, Liz and Brice's engagement serves as a poignant reminder that love, real, lasting, gritty, glorious love, is not found in grand gestures or picture-perfect moments. It's found in the daily choice to show up, to stay, to grow, to forgive, to laugh, to hold on even when it's hard. Their story is still being written. There will be wedding dress fittings and seating charts, family squabbles and joyful reunions, milestones celebrated and challenges overcome. Everly will take her first steps, say her first words, start school, roll her eyes at her parents' corny jokes. Liz will paint more masterpieces. Brice will keep making her laugh. And through it all, they'll keep choosing each other.